Back. Yes, we are. That's Tone. I'm Rob. We're hanging out with you. You know what, Tone? Let's throw up the GoFundMe. I should have hit you with this during the break. So,
No, I got you. I got it already ready to go.
I appreciate it, brother. Yeah. So, Tone, we'll pin this in the chat as well, and this is the way that you can contribute anything you can. And again, we always try to emphasize this. We get it, man. Times are tough. You're trying to get by, get through Thanksgiving. You're trying to get through the holidays. You're trying to pay your bills. So we're not asking for any kind of gigantic donations, but whatever you can do would be appreciated, simply put. So Derek and his wife, Trish, and the full explanation is there on the GoFundMe page, and you can check it out. And Derek explains what happened with Trish and the long road that they have in front of them. But whatever you can do to contribute is great. And so you can do it right there where Tone has it pinned in the chat, or go to Derek's Facebook page, and there's a link there as well. So again, it's a long road. It's a long recovery. And there's also a lot that may need to be done around the house, alterations to assist Trish as she makes this comeback. So appreciate everything. And in this, day and tomorrow, a day of giving thanks, give thanks for your health if you have it. And hopefully, say some prayers and good thoughts for Trish.
Yeah, absolutely, Rob. You said a really important thing. Just being thankful, just being graceful and patient with others. Anybody who's going through any sort of health challenges in their life, it's always good to just have that strong support system. To always have the faith that things are going to always trend in the right direction. I know for myself, my own family, my mom, battled kidney disease, and she was on dialysis for about a year or so, and then she got a call for a new kidney on Mother's Day, right, which couldn't have come at a better time. She got that kidney earlier this year, and she's back better than ever. And she couldn't have got through that without faith, without family support, without staying diligent and just being focused on recovery. So, yeah, man, it's always important to be grateful for your health. Never take it for granted. Love on your loved ones, hug them. Whatever bad vibes, whatever bad juju, whatever was said, it can be forgiven.
Yeah.
Make that phone call. Don't be too prideful. Don't be too egotistical. Just share love, be the best version of yourself, and always just put your best foot forward.
Yeah, and here's what I would say too, and Tony, thanks. Good thoughts, man. For those of you who have older parents, it can be challenging, right? Some of the stuff you have to deal with, and you can very easily lose your patience with them. I would tell you, do the best that you can to appreciate the time you have with them, because before you know it, you're not going to have time to spend with them. So put up with some of the little idiosyncrasies, some of the little things that may grate on you a little bit. And I'm sure you do things that grate on them, but just try to tolerate it. Try to do the best you can especially on holidays, because it can be challenging. There's some stress during the holidays. So do the best you can. I'm not trying to give you like some speech here. I'm just telling you, it's, if you're fortunate enough to still have, loved ones close to you, make the most of it. That's all. And if that's just picking up the phone or FaceTiming or whatever, do the best that you can. So anyway, all right, good stuff there, Tone.
Yeah, for sure. And also quick shout out to our guy Niners All Damn Day. Look, he donated $50 to the GoFundMe, and look, that's you. Listen, yeah. Niners, you did.
Yeah, appreciate it.
We all talk a lot of trash in this sports thing.
Yeah,
and it's all fun. But at the end of the day, we're all people behind these accounts, right?
Yep.
And we're all people behind. We all got lives that we got to go back to, and we're grateful for you for always coming in each and every day, causing a ruckus, but also showing you support for one of our esteemed hosts, Derek Gunn and his family, man. So we appreciate you, man, all damn day. Yeah. Now on 2 Sundays from now, we're not going to be friends. But just know we appreciate you, Niners all damn day. It's always love, man. Thank you for always coming to the live stream and just just being you, man. What's life without your what's life without the opposition?
Well, here's what I would tell you while we're on this. And we won't be with you guys tomorrow. We'll be back on Friday. But what I'll say is I'm grateful for the platform. I never take a day for granted, whether I'm doing this whether I'm doing radio, whether I'm doing TV or whatever. I never take a day for granted because I know it's not a given, right? So the only way that we have the platform that we have is from you guys. If you guys don't tune in, don't hang out with us, aren't a part of the show, don't stream us, we aren't here. So I'm always mindful of that and very appreciative of that. So
Absolutely. You guys couldn't have said it better myself, RE. All right, enough with the pleasantries and the sappy stuff. Let's get into it, man. Let's get physical.
I'm going to talk about Nick Sirianni.
Okay.
Because you're talking about a guy who just went on the road and won in Kansas City, which had to be pretty sweet for him because he coached there and Andy Reid let him go. It was civil. There's no issues between those two, but
new coach, new staff, it happens.
Yeah, but you can't tell me there isn't a little piece of you that said, "Oh, I wasn't good enough." Okay, and then and you lost to him in the Super Bowl and you haven't beaten him as a head coach. So to win that game had to be sweet. So that moves the Eagles to 9-1 this season. They went 14-3 last year. They went 9-8 in this first year, coming off a season where they had won 4 games. They were 4-12-1 in Doug's last year. Okay, so he's gone 32-12 as the Eagles head coach, been to a playoff game and been to a Super Bowl in, basically a little more than 2.5 years. So it's pretty amazing what he was able to do and what he's been able to do in a very short period of time. And for some reason, and again, I want to kind of explore this thing. I don't go in with all the answers here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious why he doesn't. I guess this is more of a national thing. And I think there's a little bit of this locally. He isn't appreciated more. Now, is it people just say you have too much talent on that team? You should be winning. Maybe. Were they expect to be good coming off a Super Bowl? Yes. They haven't had massive injuries like Minnesota's had. Maybe. I don't know. I mean, why do you think it is, Tone, that I'm going to put it this way. When we have Coach of the Year conversations, and again, there's still a long way to go, but we talk about Dan Campbell. We talk about Kevin O'Connell. We talk about Stefanski, Mike McDaniel, Doug Peterson, D'Amico Ryans. Like all those guys have their own little thing. Like the Lions have always been terrible. And anytime, boom, you get off to a great start, you're saying to yourself, oh my God, Dan Campbell must be doing something right. Kevin O'Connell was doing it without Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson. Stefanski's doing it without Deshaun Watson. McDaniel, it's just so fun to watch, whatever they're doing there in Miami. Doug P, I think, is getting a little overlooked for a great start. D'Amico Ryans, rookie coach. Texans have been bad for a while. Now, all of a sudden, he's got them going in the right direction. Like, they all have little reasons why I think they get more maybe recognition. But what do you think?
I honestly think it has something to do with his personality. He can be very brazen. He's very rambunctious at times. He's super he wears his heart on his sleeve. He speaks his mind for the most part, and he's quirky. And a lot of people don't like that, especially when you're winning, right? They kind of take it as smug. They kind of take it as you being a bit of a jerk, or excuse my French, they kind of look at you like a douche. You know what I mean? So, when I look at Nick Sirianni, right, I could care less about him winning the Coach of the Year award because I'm a firm believer that award is cursed anyway. Anyone who wins it typically gets fired a year or two later. So I'm not even. I could care less about the award per se. What I care more so about is the respect he gets as the head coach for the Philadelphia Eagles and the impact that he provides. Listen, whether people want to accept it or not, Nick Sirianni paid his dues, right?
Yeah.
2004, at age 23, got his first start at Mount Union being the D-backs coach. And he was at Mount Union for 2 years in 04 and 05.
And that's where he played his college ball too.
And that's where he played his college ball. D3 football, by the way.
Yep.
He started out as a D-backs coach from 2004 to 2005. And then from 2006 to 2008, he was the wide receiver coach at IUP, Indiana University of Pennsylvania. If you're from the PA area, you know how that school gets down. A lot of fun times there, if you ask me.
Would that be somebody's alma mater?
My brother's alma mater. My brother,
okay.
My brother graduated from there. I graduated from California University.
Oh, you're California. Okay. Are they close to one another?
Yeah, not too far. About an hour and a half, 2 hours away from each other. But they're our college rivals.
Gotcha.
But nonetheless, they do have great parties though. But anyway, from 2006 to 2008. Nick Sirianni paid his dues in D2 football at IUP as a wide receivers coach. They finally got his big break in the NFL in 2009 with the Kansas City Chiefs at age 28 as an offensive quality control coach. And then he became the assistant quarterbacks coach in 2010. 2011 became he was the offensive quality control coach again. 2012 was able to get the big break as the wide receiver coach in Kansas City. And then Andy Reid comes in, takes over, brings in a new staff in 2013, and Nick Sirianni moves on to the San Diego Chargers. He stays there from 2013 to 2016, and there he's the quality control coach again, the quarterbacks coach for 2 years, and the wide receivers coach. And he stays there until they move to Los Angeles in 2017. He's still the receiver coach there, and then 2018 gets a big break again, and with the Colts at age 37, being the offensive coordinator for 3 seasons from 2018 to 2020. Then gets to his biggest break of all, getting the head coaching job in Philadelphia in 2021. Takes his team to the playoffs with a 9-8 record. His first year there, taking over a 4-11-1 team, gets to the Super Bowl in 2022. In 2023, the story is still yet to be written. So my point is, you can say what you want about Nick Sirianni. You can call him what you want, say what you want. The fact of the matter is, he paid his dues in this league. He paid his dues in the college ranks from D3 to D2, and
he wasn't handed anything.
So he wasn't handed anything, and he's earned it. So again, all the winning he's done the past couple of years, it has to be validated with a Super Bowl win. You cannot squander this opportunity of having 2 of the best rosters that we've seen in Philadelphia Eagles history. You have to win the big one. Winning is great, but we've seen coaches with great records get booted. We've seen coaches that win Coach of the Year get fired. He has to validate everything that he's went through, everything that he's earned, everything that he's achieved with a Super Bowl win. And he may not be the most he may not be the most spectacular offensive mind, like they consider Sean McVay and Mike McDaniel and Kevin Stefanski and all those guys. He doesn't get that kind of praise. But there are different aspects of the game that people provide. I learned this from Dan Sileo, Jimmy Johnson. He didn't call a single play. He was more so a puppet master.
Delegator.
He was a delegator. He knew what buttons to push at the right time, right? I'm not saying Nick Sirianni is Jimmy Johnson at all. That's legend status. But my point is, Nick Sirianni is a CEO coach. You know what I mean? He tried the play calling thing, and he realized that's not really where I'm strongest. But the best leaders, in my opinion, they go where they're needed, not where they want to be. He needed to be the CEO for this team. He needed to be the delegator of this team. That's what works for him. And he allows his personnel, he allows his players, his staff, he allows them to do their jobs. And I think that's his strongest suit. So again, say what you want about Nick Sirianni, but he's earned his way, he's earned his keep, and it has to be validated with a Super Bowl win.
Yeah, I think what I admire most about him is that his teams are prepared week in and week out. I don't feel like there have been many games in his tenure where I felt like they were unprepared or the lesser prepared team. I feel like they're always better prepared than the other team. And I think there is something to be said for that. I think he showed us early on that he was not one who's insecure. He's always saying, like, I'm trying to get better. I'm trying to do things differently. And it's not just coach speak.
Right.
And I also think turning over that play calling and being willing to be a delegator and putting your ego on the back burner, I think is something that a lot of coaches don't have. I think it's a problem with a lot of coaches, and he didn't care. He thought, you know what? I'm more valuable here to be able to keep my hands in everything rather than being so offensive oriented. And really, since that time, they've taken off. They were 2-5. Think about that. So the rest of that year, they end up going 7-3.
Yes.
Then they go 14-3. Then they go 9-1. That's what they've been since he did that. So it was a really monumental shift for his team to get better. And the other part is, for the argument that they're uber talented, I'm not going to tell you they aren't talented. Howie's done a great job with this roster. But
I'm not holding it against Nick at all. You can't hold it against him. He has a GM that knows how to do his job. So I'm not one of those people that's going to say, well, he's lucky. No, listen, he had to accept the job, right? He had to look at the Eagles and say, okay, this GM, I can get behind this. He had to take the job as well. He didn't just get forced taking the job. So I'm never going to criticize a quarterback for having certain weapons. I'm never going to criticize a coach for having certain players. At the end of the day, everyone has a job to do. And these coaches, these players, for the most part, they choose where they want to go. If you want to follow the money, okay. If you want to follow a stable and try to formula or a system that can work that leads to winning, okay. It's all about where you want to go. So you know, I'm not going to judge Nick Sirianni for having a high quality GM. It is what it is.
No, I think the other part is too, like, he's developed some of these players, you know, and let's give him some credit. You know, Jalen is, I'll just use Jalen as an example. He's obviously a very self-motivated guy, and he obviously had more in the tank than a lot of people anticipated at the NFL level. But there's development there. There's getting this guy better. There's making him better. There's putting him in the best position to succeed. And Sirianni's done that. Shane Steichen did it, and Brian Johnson's doing it. So, you know, like, to me, give the guy props for that. They developed a quarterback who was taken in the second round, and he's become a runner-up MVP. So that in and of itself, you deserve some credit for.
Absolutely. It takes a village to develop a quarterback, right? You know, it takes a village to develop you, but it only takes one person to believe in you. And, you know, again, Nick Sirianni, I'm not saying he's the best coach in the league, but I feel like he's the best at what he does. And that's all you and that's all you necessarily need to be. Let me ask you this, Rob, right? And stop me from getting too personal.
Yes.
But has there ever been a point in your life where you've had to say, you know what, as much as I want to be this person for this situation, I need to step back and put my pride and ego to the side and say, you know what, as much as I want to be this person in this situation, they need me to be this other person in this situation.
I have. Look, I think it happens in any kind of relationship that you have. Like, for example, you know, marriage. Sometimes you want to go to the mat with something because you think you're right. Okay. Yeah. Sometimes you're better off keeping the peace. Sometimes you're better off just trying to look at it from somebody else's point of view. And it's better than just being right necessarily, or getting the last dig in there, the last word. You know what? Be the bigger man, be the bigger person. Sometimes you just be quiet. I think you do it when you're parenting a lot. Like, there are some things that you want for your kids that maybe they don't want. And you got to understand that. And you got to kind of take a step back a little bit sometimes. And you got to let them live their life and make the mistakes and learn from that. And I think coaching's a lot like that. You know, I think understanding personalities is not an easy thing. You're dealing with alpha males, man, like dudes who have been the best at every stop of their life. And sometimes you got to tell them, guess what? You're going to be coming off the bench, or your snaps are going to be limited, or we got to let you go. Or, you know what? You don't do this all that well. Let's try to emphasize this. Those are hard conversations that a coach has to have with everybody. And I think with Nick, like, I'm sure it hasn't been easy sometimes. And I'm sure when you have a strong personality, like, I'm just making this up, like AJ Brown, there are times where you got to have discussions that are frank with him, but it's the way it goes. You know, I think Wentz probably really frustrated him in the last year that Wentz was here, which was his rookie year. I'm sure with some of the things that we heard. So I think there's a lot of stuff that goes into that, man. And what makes a great coach isn't just knowing, hey, let's call for a draw play here. It's like, you know what, man, we got to get the best out of this guy. How do I motivate him? And I think Nick's good at that. And I think the players really appreciate that from him, that he's genuine. And listen, we keep it real here. I get it. Like, if he coached another team and he was doing some of that stuff where he's like getting into it with the fans, like if you see the video, he's running off, yelling at Kansas City fans. Yeah. That pisses me off if I'm a fan of another team. So I think that hurts him.
Yeah, it does. Frankly. It does.
Yeah.
Which goes back to the original point, right? His personality. Yeah. His personality, a lot of people don't like him. So therefore, it makes it hard for them to root for him or even take his role remotely seriously. But one thing I will say, and I have to respect it, he's authentic.
Yes, he's true to himself.
Yes, he's authentic. There's this thing that I picked up and I'm trying to apply to my own life. Shout out to the stand-up comedian Dante Nero. He has his theory based off of, it's called ACE. It's authenticity, credibility, and empathy.
Okay, those
are the three traits that every man, every human must have for them to be the best version of themselves.
Right.
Nick Sirianni has been authentic. Every year he's been in Philadelphia. He's been credible. His team, his players, his staff, they trust him. You know what I mean? Yeah. Anything he says, they believe it. Best believe if he was blowing a smoke up their behinds, he would not still be here. And we would see it on the field. Case in point, the Los Angeles Chargers, right?
Yeah.
And then empathy. He understands his guys. He understands what they need. As soon as he got here, the first thing he did was have a meeting with the brain trust on the roster, his veterans, Fletcher Cox, Jason Kelsey, Lane Johnson, Brandon Graham, had a meeting with those guys and say, okay, what do you guys need from me? What can I do to make sure you guys are in peak shape and peak form once we get the OTAs, training camp, preseason, the regular season, so on and so forth. And he regularly consults with his guys. So again, Nick Sirianni, say what you want about him, but at the end of the day, he's producing. He's been a success thus far. He understands his players. He understands how to operate in Harry Roseman's ecosystem, which is something Doug struggled with, especially after the Super Bowl. Nonetheless, Nick Sirianni understands his situation. He knows how to operate and manipulate his situation and take advantage of it, and they're winning. Again, it always goes back to winning the big one. Can he validate it all with a Super Bowl win? It's all left to be seen.
And we would have found out, in my opinion, we would have found out really after the Flower speech, which they've gone on a tear since. If the players didn't buy in, like there would have been a lot of eye rolls, not a lot of people backing him. But when you had all the veterans say, you know what, when you really listen to it, it makes a lot of sense. And then they go out and play the way that they played ever since he did that. That told me that he's on good footing with his players. His players buy into him. And he's not just one who does like all the antics that you see on the sideline or some of the other stuff is who he is all the time. Because if it wasn't, believe me, that stuff will get old really quick. These guys can sniff out a fraud in 2 seconds. They've been around long enough, especially the older guys, where
these guys in the league, all these guys can smell a fraud. All of them.
Yeah.
That's why you look at some of these teams. Again, the Chargers are one of them. They know Brandon Staley's a fraud. They don't believe nothing he says.
Yes.
What's another situation in the league right now that's just do you think, and this ties back to the Bills, do you think Sean McDermott's message is staling? And we're gonna ask our guy, Catalana, later on about this, but do you think his message, what he's getting across to his players, is starting to get sour?
My honest answer is, I'm in fairness, I'm going to say I don't know right now. If I see this trend continue the rest of the year with these same kind of mistakes, then my answer is going to be yes. I'm not quite ready to go there yet with him.
Okay, fair enough. That's fair.
But I think, and that's why we always week of, excuse me, we try and get somebody with some perspective on the opposing team. And Mike Catalana covers them every day, who we're going to be talking to at 1:00. So I'm very interested because it's one of the first questions I'm going to ask him. It's weird. You have a Buffalo team coached by a guy who's from the Philadelphia area, McDermott. And then you have a Philly team coached by the guy with Buffalo ties. But anyway, I don't know. I mean, if I looked around the league at guys who certainly the Chargers are like poster children for this, but go back to Josh McDaniels. The Raiders didn't believe in that guy a little bit
from the beginning.
And he's out the door. I'll tell you the other one. Denver guys clearly bought into Sean Payton.
Yeah.
With all of his bluster. Right? And they could have all just been like, dude.
Because remember at the beginning, he came in with all these new rules. No backwards hats, no sunglasses on the side. Like he came in with these rules.
Right.
And you can lose a locker room that way. But I think they also understood that, okay, let's give this guy a chance. He has pedigree in this league, and we were terrible last year. We have no leg to stand on. Let's see how this thing goes.
Right, exactly. So I think he's one who and the other thing is it's easier for a guy like Peyton to be respected because Peyton has gravitas. That guy won a Super Bowl, was a hell of a coach for a long time in one place. Nick Sirianni was in his first year here. So you could have easily just checked out on him quicker.
Absolutely.
Belichick it has gotten a longer rope, obviously, than almost anybody would get because of how great he's been. But I think that message has gotten stale in New England. I do. Now, I don't know what's going to happen, but I think they've done a bad job with talent, but I also think the guys are kind of checked out on him, which I hope, hey, I don't know. I think what's going to happen at the end of the year, Tone, is I think there could be a mutual parting of the ways. I want out. You want me out. Let's see other people. Bye-bye. I really think that could happen.
Man, it all remains to be seen, man. But again, it just goes back to, not every coach is put into the best situation, but it's what you do in that situation, right? Nick Sirianni picked up 4-11-1 team. Dan Campbell has turned around the Detroit Lions. I mean, let's just be honest about this. There are some guys. There are some guys who just don't have the the poise, or they don't have the stones or the personality to really navigate certain situations that have been turbulent before them and are trying to get it back on track. It's not an easy task, man. Doug Peterson in Jacksonville. I mean, he's turned around Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Like, come on, man. So you got like, so some of these coaches, regardless of how you may feel about their overall impact on winning, I guess you could say, or if they're not the wonder boy or the golden child amongst these guys like a Sean McVay or Mike McDaniel, you got to pay attention to what guys bring to their table, right?
Mhm.
Everyone's table comes in different sizes, different shapes, different wood finishes. Everyone has their own table.
Yeah.
What do you bring to your table?
Yes.
Right. And that's all that matters to me.
I agree. All right, let's come back. We're going to push our NFL segment up to 12:30 because we have Mike Catalana coming up from Buffalo at 1 o'clock. So we're going to come back, hit you with a bunch of different things. We talked about how some of the things that Tom Brady had to say yesterday regarding the way that he thinks the league is trending toward mediocrity. I want to get back into that among a lot of other things as well. So we've got a lot to do. And interestingly enough, all 3 games tomorrow on Thanksgiving, Tone, have Eagles tie-ins. All 3. So we'll get into that. And there's a game Friday as well. So we'll talk about all those things when we come back. Don't go anywhere. Tone DeShields, Rob Ellis, hanging with you Thanksgiving Eve. Let's talk about Pro Action Restoration. Yeah, I've told you I've had them out here, and Pro Action Restoration, because I had a leak, because I had water damage, they are handling all of the remodeling that I need done here, contracting, painting, carpentry, carpets, the whole 9, because I had a lot of damage done from a flood, and they've been awesome. So if you have a home, you have a business, a property, and you go through the pain, the inconvenience of water, fire, smoke, mold damage to your property, you know how challenging that can be. But the good thing is Pro Action Restoration is on call 24 hours, 7 days a week to assist. They are licensed, bonded, fully insured. They've been serving the tri-state area for more than 2 decades. Pro Action will work in conjunction with your insurance company. So again, if it's water, fire, smoke, mold damage to your home, or something else that you're not sure about, you can reach out and give them a call, 610-623-3760, 610-623-3760, or online at proactionrestoration.com. That's proactionrestoration.com.